So we're really pleased to be welcoming Sean. Sean is a best-selling author. Got a ton of experience with UX and being everything from UX practitioner through chief innovation officer, and just brings a wealth of knowledge. So we're so excited to be welcoming Sean to do his presentation. So Sean, the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, CJ. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you have as much fun with this conversation as I do. So the talk is AI and UX and AI, two things that are near and dear to my heart. But let's jump right in. So before we begin this conversation, now for the context of the conversation that we're going to have, I want us to kind of level set on, what do we mean when we say artificial intelligence, also known as AI, and also what we mean in user experience, or what we call UX. So first up, AI. So in 1955, the term artificial intelligence was first coined at Stanford by a gentleman by the name of John McCarthy. And John said, artificial intelligence is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. Got to remember, it's 1955. There are no computers yet. Making intelligent machines. Let's fast forward a bit, and I grabbed some of these more recent definitions of AI. First one coming from a company you might know as International Business Machine, or IBM, who've been in the AI game for quite a while, if you all remember Big Blue and the chess it used to play. So IBM says AI is a technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem solving. While Google, who is relatively new to the AI game, but has definitely already put its dent in this area, says AI is a set of technologies that enables computers, guess they don't care about machines, to perform a variety of advanced functions like see, understand, and translate, analyze data, make recommendations, etc. I'm going to pause, and I want to see if there is anyone. I want this to be interactive because I think it's more fun for me and more fun for everyone else. If there's anyone that wants to add to any of these definitions of artificial intelligence, or maybe has their own take on it.
Yeah, AI is one of those interesting terms that, as you mentioned, has been around since, the 50s and 60s, and it's really evolved, and it's quite, and I don't have like a specific academic definition, but the way I think about it is, I'd say intelligent machines is probably the best way to think about it. But it's just interesting to see like the history of like technology and the history of computing and how it evolves, and kind of where we're at now. And if you look at the kind of the frontier models of where we're at, we'll get into like the differences between like just LLMs, and then now having the AGI conversation. It's like a lot of the stuff that these models can do now is kind of falling into that artificial general intelligence realm. Even if you were talking to someone, 10 years ago and explaining what we're going through now. So it's just kind of interesting how that's all evolving. But no, that was kind of my 2 cents.
Anyone else want to share? Okay. On the flip side of that is, what is user experience, also known as UX? There's a couple of definitions that I like for user experience. The first one comes from the Nielsen-Norman group. That's Jacob Nielsen and Don Norman. Nielsen and Norman were some of the first folks at Apple in the late 1980s, where the term user experience was coined. They went on to form a UX agency, Nielsen-Norman Group, and they define user experience as encompassing all aspects that people have with the company, its services, and its products. Now, this is a very broad, high-level definition, but if you think about companies like Apple and Google and Amazon, They all have chief design officers, and they report on their quarterly reports, how well their experience design is affecting their business. In fact, Apple's whole model is based on user experience, and they're the most profitable company in the world. But from my observation, probably about 10% of companies have really elevated experience design to that level. I would say when most people are talking about experience design, they're talking really about what it is around technology, and specifically the visual appearance, the interactive behavior, and the assistive capability of the technology. I'm going to pause again and see if there's anyone who wants to add to this definition of user experience, or this understanding of user experience at a higher corporate level or at a more pragmatic developer level. All right. Well, I feel that I've set the stage about, at least in context of this conversation, about what we mean when we say AI and UX. So let's begin. First off, I'm going to talk about some ways that AI is helping UX. So one of the ways that AI is helping UX is to, just like with a lot of other fields, is automating repetitive tasks. And one of the first things that designers do when they go to create designs is they have to come up with a bunch of sketches or ideas or preliminary designs. And AI can help generate different design variations. So as a designer, you can put in parameters, and you can really get your juices rolling with some early designs with the help of AI. Another place that AI helps with UX is in the resizing and cropping of images, which is a very mundane task, but has to be done. And the nice thing is that AI can do it automatically and get it right and just take that off your plate. Another place where AI is helping UX is in content creation. I personally have been using AI for content creation for a few years now. I do say partially, though, because from my experience, the content created by AI, because it's all based on data sets and models and tokens, etc., can get you about 80 or 90% there, and then you have to take it the rest of the way. The other way that AI is helping UX is in the interaction design, specifically around the usability of those interactions. And one of the ways it's doing it is by improving predictive eye tracking. Eye tracking is a way in interaction design that we track where our audience is viewing a screen. And once we know where they're viewing the screen, that is where we want to put the most important information for them to see. So it gets into things like information placement and information design. And eye tracking has come a long way, and the next evolution has been amplifying it with AI. Another place where AI is helping UX is in multivariance testing. You're probably familiar with A/B testing, which is when you test one thing against another thing, sometimes known as a champion-challenger model, where the champion is the design that's there today, and you would test it against the challenger. And then if the challenger wins, then it becomes the champion. And AI has helped automate this whole process, so it's more efficient and faster and more accurate. Another way that AI is helping UX is in the behavioral analysis. So AI has gotten really good at watching your customers interact with your solution and identifying the areas where they may get lost, they may leave, they may spend a lot of time where they shouldn't be. And by doing that, you can analyze it, identify the pain points, and then as the designer, you can go ahead and address those pain points with whatever it needs to be. Another place that AI is helping UX is in the accessibility of the solution. And one of the biggest ways is by tagging images. So today, if you're blind, you're going to be using a screen reader to read the screen. And if you're a screen reader, you have no idea. You can't read like a video or an image or anything like that. So those need to be properly tagged. And AI is really good at pre-tagging them, giving them the right kind of tags, really intelligent tags. It's gone a long ways. Another area that just blows my mind is real-time language translation. I remember the early days of speech to text and text to speech, and it sucked. And it just amazes me today. To me, it's almost like science fiction that these language translators can translate in real time while you're speaking. It reminds me of, like, the 1960s Star Trek. And another way that AI is helping UX is with the design system management itself. So if you are an experienced designer, you have libraries of design elements and components, and those constantly need to be maintained for consistency and efficiency. Laborious to do manually, wonderful to do with AI enhancement. I'm going to pause again. I just shared several ways that AI is helping UX, not always, but several that I thought would be interesting for this conversation. But I'm curious if anyone else has anything that they want to share about how AI has helped them with their UX.
From my standpoint, it's been great as far as just kind of rapid prototyping, even if it's just brainstorming and just kind of spinning up some interesting, kind of visuals as a first pass. So, from whatever type of just pie in the sky idea, or just anything like that, it's just the democratization to be able to really have no design skills or visual design acumen, but then to be able to kind of give a set of requirements or just kind of a vision, and then for it to just kind of output something is kind of magic.
It is kind of magic. Thank you for sharing that. So that was the first point that I brought up about using AI to help generate preliminary designs. And you also hinted at, this goes a little bit outside the realm of UX, but if you are a product manager or on the product side of the house, like a product owner, you can use AI to help you generate your requirements, your user stories, or jobs to be done. And that can then be the food for the UX design. Excellent. Any other thing that anyone wants to share about how AI is helping UX?
If no one else is going to say anything, I'll say something real quick. I just kind of had a thought a day or two ago about how user testing is interesting, but obviously you have AI kind of representing humans as far as just the data sets and whatnot. And I look forward to the day of just kind of allowing for simulated user testing, especially if you provide personas, and AI can take the personas, especially as you get more like things like agents and systems that can use solutions and use computers. It'll be interesting that you can actually do some extensive user testing before you actually get some humans on it to really kind of get that next iteration or two before you open it up for bigger user bases. So
Yeah, I would assume that already exists today, but if it doesn't, it has to be right around the corner. It wouldn't be too hard using RAG to, upload a persona and maybe some requirements or the design itself and say, have at it. Like I said, I'd be surprised that doesn't exist today, but if it doesn't, it's gonna exist soon. And you're right, that's a good preliminary, especially again, it all depends on the data set and who wrote the algorithms and the whole testing model behind it. But yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, we do have a question.
Shoot.
From Alani. It said, I can't add to how AI is helping UX, but I am curious about how AI is helping design system management. Can we talk more about that?
Oh yeah, sure. So if you are, well, one aspect, there's a lot of aspects of experience design, but one of them is maintaining the library of design elements. So the design elements might be images, it might be videos, it might be logos, it might be components. It all depends on the structure of your library and how you maintain that library. And there are popular frameworks out now, I don't want to mention brands, that designers use to maintain those libraries. And not surprising, those tools that they use today are now AI enabled. So AI can help them do things like better naming structure around the files or the images themselves, or they can check them to see if they're corrupt, or they can quickly identify, what it is and the size that it is, and use some logic around tagging for, logical grouping of elements, or easy to sort elements, or easy to find elements.
Awesome. We have a couple of hands raised, so we'll go by order. So Greg Reed, you have the floor.
Thanks. What have you seen with AI and 508 accessibility?
Oh, you know what? That's interesting, because I have to do a web accessibility workshop, and it's coming up soon, and it's on my list of things to check, Greg. I'm going to guess, I haven't done the research yet, but I'm going to guess someone. It wouldn't be hard, right? So 508 is a standard a guideline here in the United States. It's different in other countries, but 508 is what we do here in the US for ADA. And you could easily upload that as a RAG into, pick your favorite Gen AI tool. I will throw a brand out there, and that's Backplane, Backplain, which is my AI tool of choice. And then against that RAG, you could do, whatever you want. You could summarize the 508. You could probably create a presentation on the 508. It depends on how you're using 508, because 508 isn't just for technology. 508 is also for like spaces. It also applies to architectural spaces. Did I answer your question?
Kind of. I just know that when I've worked with companies to get websites to be more accessible, it's a constant battle to make sure that developers don't go and break your accessibility compliance, with the latest code push. So I didn't know if.
So if you're doing accessibility for a website, then you forget about 508. There's a specific guideline called WCAG. Current version is 2.2, and it has AA and AAA compliance. Most people want to shoot for AA. So web accessibility has its own niche guidelines beyond 508, which like I said, is the US standard for not just technology, but also physical spaces. Good question. Yeah. So WCAG 2.2 is the latest version, and you can find that at the WC3. Good question.
And Ellie has a question. Go ahead, Ellie.
Yeah, I've seen this happen in terms of like how AI can help, in UX. So I'm not speaking from an expert standpoint, but I was on a team where, I would see other senior UX designers actually use AI to maybe code like a quick solution. So that way engineers can actually see how the product is meant to be used.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I was now I need to learn this. Great. But yeah, it definitely helps build the bridge and the gap and like understanding between engineering and UX design a lot better and a lot faster.
Yeah. Amen to that. Thank you for sharing. I came up actually as a programmer, and then switched over to the design side of the house. So I know how to code. But a lot of folks, especially in the last 20 years, they went to design school and they never learned how to code. So they just did the design stuff. But yeah, I guess they could definitely use AI to make a quick prototype. The inverse is true too, right? So with AI, an engineer can do some design work. So I think one of the things we're going to see, and there's actually a McKinsey article on this right now, is this kind of blurring of like product management, content management, experience design, and at least front-end development, if not full-on product development, are going to become, not so separate and have more universal tools. It's a brave new world, and it's happening fast. Any other questions about AI and UX?
We have another question. Ben Ullman.
Hey there, thanks. Yeah, my question was, how do you like I get how you could like copy the details of WCAG guidelines and paste it into a GPT, but how would you, for example, give access to an AI of your design system, or how are those integrated? Are there tools being made specifically for UX? Are there Figma plugins? Or
I don't know the answer. I'll just be honest that that would be an interesting business model. I know right now, sans AI, before AI became a thing, there are tools where you can point them to a website or a web app. They'll scan the code, they'll identify what's out of compliant, and even in some case suggest, you know, what you need to do, because it's pretty rudimentary. The guidelines. You can do that without AI now with certain accessibility tools. But I'm going to guess that, you know, if you take those same tools and you enhance them with AI, they'll be, you know, more robust and could probably create an easier interface for the person, you know, running the scan and even the results of the scan.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's a brave new world. I'm like I said, if someone hasn't already done that, that has to be right around the corner. That's a good one. Thank you. Any other thoughts around AI and UX?
Another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What's being done with AI to improve the user's interaction? And I mean that, like, if you look at medical software, it can take
my heart.
like
Oh,
if you
fun.
yeah the UIs,
I live in San Diego. There's a lot of medical device companies here. That's why.
Oh, okay, got it. So like if when you're in the doctor's office, they typically have like a screen there that they're putting their data in, and if you watch them, it'll take, you know, multiple clicks just to enter a small amount of data. Is anybody using AI to streamline like an existing UI and just make it faster for users?
That's an excellent question. Like I said, I live in San Diego, and there's multiple medical device companies here in San Diego. I've worked with some of them, and I've worked with some of the leaders in that area. One of the best things about the medical device field is there was a law passed, it had to been at least a decade ago, where all of the devices now have to go through usability testing. So it's created a big field for, you know, usability engineers in the medical device field. So because they have to do it, it's required, thank God. And the interesting thing is the folks in that field is they call it usage design because it has to do with the use of the devices, and just a whole nother way to think about it. And along that same lines of, you know, how we perceive things, this idea, there's an old joke that there's only two professions that refer to their customers as users: drug dealers and technologists. So I'm always encourage people to, you know, when you're talking about your customers or your clients or your target audience, if you can find a better name for them, like their persona name, like a student or an employee or a banker or whatever it is that they actually are, it's a much, much better name than a user. Just want to throw that out there. Thank you, by the way. Any other questions or comments about AI in UX?
We have something in the chat here from Ashton. Custom GPTs work pretty well for accessing your design system and content guidelines, then giving you feedback and ideas tailored to the knowledge you gave it.
Oh, yeah. God, I didn't even think about that. Yes. So that is one of the best things about current Gen AIs is its ability to give suggestions about how to improve things. CJ, I believe that when I gave you one of the first drafts of this presentation, you loaded it up and it gave us some suggestions on how to improve it.
Yeah, that's true. I was able to export it and to a PDF and throw it in ChatGPT and threw it in, see what it came back with and just shared that feedback with you. And it took a look at some of the visual elements of it, said maybe, use less
Which at the time it had none.
We have another hand raised. Alani.
Hi, everyone. I have a very beginner level question. I just graduated college this past May, so
Congratulations.
thank you. So I'm just very curious. I asked that question earlier about the design system piece, like how to manage it, and I'm just having a hard time understanding like a real application of how this will work. So I'm just hoping that you could like go into a little more detail about like any of the examples you provided about how specifically to use AI, because at least for me in the design system part, like it's just not computing for me, like how you would.
What design system do you use right now to manage your design elements and components?
So I'm still looking for a role, so I don't have.
Oh, okay.
But I'm familiar with Figma, like I know how it works.
Yeah, Figma right now. Yeah, Figma just added its AI agent within the last year. And it's amazing. I was just on a project last year, and when it was introduced, and the designers immediately started using the AI tool. Like we'd be doing Fig Jams. Fig Jams is kind of a subset of Figma where you're kind of like brainstorming ideas, and then we invite the AI tool to participate. It based on what we're doing, it would come up with its, like its own sketches. Or we had a very senior level visual designer. He was the one who actually was responsible for maintaining our library. In this particular case, we were dealing with a web application that had, we had many versions because we were in a design phase as we're preparing for a new software release. But within that version, there was different areas of the application, and within that library were different elements and element types. And you could do all of that manually, or you can just stick the AI tool on it, and it does a pretty good job of giving things good names and organizing things, sorting and organizing things in a great way. And then based on how you tag them, makes it really easy to find things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions about AI and UX? Okay, we're going to flip it. We're going to talk about now how UX helps AI. And again, this is a subject close to my heart. So I think one of the main ways that UX helps AI is understanding your audience. At the core of experience design is this idea, it's called human-centered design process. And at the core of it is putting the human or your target audience at the center of the design process. And the only way that you can do that is you have to know them. You have to understand their mental model. You have to know what tasks they want to get done. What is their goal? And then by understanding them and their mental model and the tasks that needs to be done, then AI can help, or UX can help the AI solution or the developers to make the technology easier for their target audience to accomplish the task by better defining who that audience is. Another part of that, kind of a nuance of that, is setting the right expectation. Especially now, AI tools and AI solutions are relatively new, and people's and I've seen this firsthand, people's expectation when they trying out a new AI solution, they may think it's wildly smarter than it actually is, or dumber than it is. And this is where UX can help AI better set the expectation in plain language, what your solution does for them, not what it does, but what it does for them. What is the value prop so that their expectation is set? And another way that it can help your target customer is by best explaining your results. So whenever you can cite a source and explain which qualities the AI was focused on to give that result, the better it is for you to understand the audience to understand the solution. Another way that UX is helping AI is what I call communicating confidence. So you see this today. You can, when you share a result, and there's multiple ways when we say results, what those are from the AI solution. One of the ways you can do it is with showing a percentage or star rating or any other cue that can give your target audience the level of confidence your result is. And that could be derived based on the parameters and the algorithm itself and how confident you are. But it could also be a mix with the humans themselves rating it. So there's lots of ways of going about that. And along with that is this idea of how you degrade gracefully away from that confidence rating. So, in a perfect world, the input by the human is clear. That's a whole nother conversation. And then the answer is certain. Like, man, we heard that question before. We have 100% confidence this is the right thing. That's awesome. But in the case where that's not the case and there's less confidence, then you would be doing your audience a service if you could communicate that visually, that there's less confidence in that results. Maybe toning down the result response, or maybe you frame it different ways. It's all about context of use to determine what is the best way to show that, to degrade gracefully from the confidence. Another thing when it comes to communicating confidence and earning confidence and all that is knowing what not to automate. So some tasks are still best done by humans, especially when it comes to understanding emotions or motivations. Humans are still better at that. Or maybe the task itself has an intrinsic value to the human that is doing the task. Maybe it brings them dignity. It's like, I want to do that. Or it brings them enjoyment. It's like, I don't want the AI to do that. That's the best part. In fact, I was just, I was doing a workshop this last weekend. It was a design thinking jam that I was at. And every time we came to a different phase in the design process, I would go to my team. I was like, okay, do we want Otter to do this, or do we want to do it? And in the cases of finding keywords or identifying themes, we'd let the AI do that. But if it was something like affinity diagramming, which it could do, we preferred to do that just because it was fun, what we like to do. Another thing about where you might not want to automate is anything that's subjective. So when you deal with moral decisions or ethical decisions or legal decisions, you may want to skew human rather than machine. Which brings us to this idea of human in the loop. We know from research, at least today, we know from research, that human plus AI is better than human alone or AI alone. Or at least that's what the current research says. And hopefully it stays that way for a while. So one way that you can do that is give the human some control. Provide them really good feedback so they know what's going on. Make it easy to reverse any bad actions, and reward the good ones. And then a part of that, of course, is building trust over time. The best way to build trust, of course, is not to ask for personal data, or if you can minimize it. And kind of what we were talking about earlier, remembering that you're making suggestions, not decisions, right? So the AI is saying, hey, based on everything I know, think about it as a conversation, I would recommend this. And as the AI gets to know their target audience better, it can get better at helping them. They know better about, what, that particular person would rather have the AI automate, and they can ask permission less. And last, but definitely not least, is the Kano model, K-A-N-O. If you're not familiar with the Kano model says that what delights us is a moving target. And everything is moving so quickly these days. Technology is moving quickly these days. Legal things are moving quickly these days. Marketing things are moving quickly these days. And if your AI isn't, doing the latest and greatest data set. It could be giving data that is out of date, irrelevant, or even worse, providing misinformation because it's out of date. Okay, I talked about not all the ways, but several ways that UX helps AI. I'm going to open it up here. Is there anything else that anyone else wants to share or discuss about how UX is helping AI? No? Really? No UXers in the audience?
I just want to hear what you have next.
Okay. Well, at this point, I'm at some parting thoughts. The first part of parting thoughts I want to talk about is that this is a brave new world. These are new technologies, and there are challenges and considerations. And again, this isn't an exhaustive list, but when I was preparing for this, I thought, well, what are the big three that I think we just all need to be really honest about? And the first one is the bias in the algorithms. I've been in the ML space for over 20 years now, worked with a lot of data scientists. And at the end of the day, it's a human that writes those algorithms. And I'm sure you've heard about algorithm bias and how it skews certain ways. Also, it's not just the quality of the algorithm itself, but also the quality of the data set. You've heard the expression garbage in, garbage out. If you have crappy data, you're going to get crappy results. So it's really an interesting, when it comes to data science, it's a really interesting dance of both art and science of writing good algorithms, testing your models, and having good data to work with. The other area that I think we need to be honest with ourselves about is we don't want to get over reliant on AI. Obviously, I have a bias towards a human-centered approach because I'm an experienced designer, but also at least now, empathy and critical thinking is still the best way to solve complex problems. And I know AI is catching up fast, but to the best of my knowledge, humans are still better at least empathy. And last but not least, which has been kind of a theme, is this idea again of trust and acceptance, that as we move forward, and if you're designing AI-driven systems, trust is the holy grail. And you're only going to do that by being consistently reliable, consistently respect people's privacy, consistently be transparent and explainable, if that's a word. And that's all key to building trust. Anything else that anyone would like to add to this list about challenges and considerations we need to be thinking about in AI and UX and AI? Okay. Here are the takeaways that I hope that if there's anything you walk away from this, the things that I'd like for you to remember. The first one is right back from the beginning, that this artificial intelligence thing is a science and an engineering, a technology, simulating human behavior and performing a variety of advanced functions, as we talked about before. And that US for technology encompasses what we talked about before, that visual appearance, the interactive behavior, and the assistive capabilities of technology. And AI helps UX automate tasks, improve the usability, and enhance the accessibility. And UX helps AI better understand their target audience, communicate that confidence, and keep that human in the loop. And most of all, build trust. Hey, CJ, how much time do we have for questions or further discussion?
Yeah, we have about 15 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Perfect timing. Well, we're talking about AI. I'll let AI ask a question. I fed it your updated presentation, and one of the questions it asked was, how do you envision the future of human-computer interaction as AI becomes more autonomous, and what role should UX designers play in shaping that future? So
That's a great question. So I think we talked about, those again. There's two sides of this coin. The first one is a lot of what we talked about, and that is AI is just getting better and better at becoming this tool to help us with repetitive tasks, not quite critical thinking, but can help us with recommendations. And I think that is always going to, feed into the human-centered design process and how a modern designer does the work. And not just designers, anyone, marketing, legal, medical, they all should be thinking about how to use these AI tools to help them do what they do better. And better might mean faster. It might be more accurate if you're working, again, with good data, good current data. So that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is how UX is going to help design these AI tools, and that's happening now. I mean, it's one of the things that I do, and that is understanding how humans are interacting with the AI solution, and understanding the mental model of the human who's interacting with them, and just make it easy for them to understand what the AI is doing, setting the right expectation with the human for what it's doing, making it easy for them to understand what it is and how to interact with it, and all those other things that UX can do to help there with this human AI interaction.
Awesome. Please, people, this is a great opportunity to ask some questions. Okay, perfect. Greg.
Sorry, I'm Mr. Chatty asking lots of questions today.
Please do.
So I'm running AI models locally, and I'm using the open source web UI, and it's similar to Chat GPTs. It's kind of this chatbot design.
Yeah, it's a Gen AI. I'm with you.
Is there any better tools? Because a lot of times, like as a programmer, I'm thinking about things not just in terms of code or words. I'm thinking about it in like a diagram of how I'm going to build something. Is there anything similar to that, or do any of the generative models like give you a peek behind the scenes that would kind of help you refine what you're doing?
Yes. So again, I didn't want to endorse anything, but I am going to endorse Backplane, BACKPLAIN. Backplane is man, it does a lot of things, and it's not expensive, which is also awesome. Backplane, what Backplane does is it takes all of the latest and greatest Gen A models, like the 30+ models, and puts them all in one place, and allows you as the prompter to pick which models you want to compare. So you can do a comparison of the models, and you can kind of pick and choose. You can see who's hallucinating, which is kind of fun, right? So pick your 3 favorite models and compare them when you prompt. Pick and choose which ones you want. It's also great, and that's what it's great. Like that's the commercial view of it. It's also great for enterprise, because the enterprise version you can put inside a firewall, and it has all kinds of great security and privacy settings. So it's used a lot by like the DoD or law firms or pharma companies that have IP data or sensitive data where they want the information of the models, but they don't want their proprietary information going out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So check it out, and let me know if you do check it out.
Will do.
Good question. Any other questions around AI for UX or UX for AI?
Let's see. We do. Ellie.
Oh, so forgive me, I'm going to try to frame this question as well as I can. But I know AI does this to some extent, but I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are in the future. And it's more of a general question, but like, how do you think AI will influence the processes going forward by which designers determine what a new product should be, or like if this new product is even worth putting effort into designing, to how it can maybe even determine the success once it's out in the market? Like, how is AI currently, and how do you think it's going to help with determining the worth of investment of time and resources for designers?
I love that question so much. So I also sometimes work on the product side of the house. I don't like to admit it. But in the realm of if you're a product owner, the first question you need to be asking yourself about a new product or a new feature is, does your target audience want it at all? If so, do they want it now? And will they pay for it? So those are kind of like the three big questions. And I've always been a big advocate as a designer that we can figure that out early and often with, paper prototyping or, simple models where you can get feedback. I'm a big believer in like the design thinking process, where you can find out early, if you should even be making that method. In fact, I don't know if you guys ever heard of minimal viable product, MVP, but that was the real purpose of an MVP. The meaning's got distorted, but the original meaning of an MVP, minimal viable product, was let's make something that's not the product. Let's make it down and dirty. Let's get it out there and let's see if we can get feedback. Okay, that's from a design standpoint. There's lots of ways that AI can help generate ideas and things like that. But to your point, there's something before you even make the MVP. There's that point where the product owner themselves need to decide, is there a there? Is there a market for this thing at all? And I've actually used Gen AI to solve that problem. So it all comes to how good of a Gen AI system you're using, in terms of its underlying technology, its algorithms. And then it also comes down to the right prompts and asking the right prompts to get the results that you want. And it may start with something like really simple about understanding the market size for the target audience, defining that target audience, at all, and all that preliminary market segmentation that you'd want to do to even see if there's a there before you even write requirements or make an MVP. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That actually, then I have a follow-up question for
Sure.
that. So does this mean that, I don't want to put it too bluntly, but our product owners or product managers, like if there is a lot of overlap that AI can do with their job in, combining with designers, does that mean product owners or product managers there might not be a need for them, maybe not now, but much later down the road?
So, like I said, I don't remember the name of it, but Mackenzie just wrote a blog on this, or an article on this particular idea. I also did a summarization on it at Sean@SeanVanDyne.com. But yeah, that's what Mackenzie is saying, that traditionally in the product development life cycle, there's like 5 or 6 stages depending on how you look at it, and there's all these tasks or steps that we do in each step of this phase. With AI, you can condense those, and what does that mean in terms of, do you need all these do you need a product marketer? Do you need a technical product manager? Do you need a product manager? Do you need a product designer? Do you need testers and visual designers, and researchers? Do you also need front-end developers? It's going to get interesting, and it's going to get interesting fast. You need a good buzz killer.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I definitely asked the buzzkill question, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the right question to be asking. I'm going to be retiring in a few years, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, you can wish us luck then. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. We have a couple questions on chat. Jessica asks, for someone like me pivoting from graphic to UX, is there any specific AI tool I should learn to use, or is it company culture or even project specific? What is used? I already use several LLMs and Adobe Firefly.
All right. Yeah. So Adobe, and I'll defer to you, but I believe Adobe's has plugged in their AI agent to the Adobe suite. I could be wrong. I know Figma has, because like I said, we were playing around with it last year. I assume Adobe has. So a lot of the major tools that graphic designers and UX designers use, and the two dominant ones are Adobe XD and Figma. Both have AI agents built in to help them through those processes. Outside the major suite of tools like Figma and Adobe XD, I expect that it is going to become a wild west of all kinds of AI tools that are going to be available for visual designers, researchers, testers, interaction designers, what have you. Did that answer your question?
Jessica said, yes, Adobe has AI in its applications.
Yep, and I
Oh,
know.
she said kinda.
Yeah, it will evolve. It will evolve, and it's going to evolve fast. By the way, I don't think anyone has to be a genius to predict that this whole AI thing is evolving at an exponential rate.
Yeah, definitely. A couple more minutes. So Ashton asks or says, the NNG are doing studies where they're identifying and labeling new user behaviors, such as apple picking, accordion editing, surrounding AI. How long do you think it will be before these emerging behaviors become part of the UX curriculum and UX teams start considering these behaviors in their work?
Oh, they should be. I do. By the way, shout out to NNG. That's Nielsen Norman Group. Yeah, they're one of my favorites, and they're not ahead of the curve though. So for example, I have clients that are in the AI platform space, and those are all the things that you need to be thinking about. We need to be thinking now about how humans interact with different AI solutions. And I'll tell you what it's like. I'm going to give you an analogy. And it's like when we were designing for browser experiences, and there's a bunch of elements or designs that are in a browser experience, like a form and a field and radio buttons and checkboxes and drop-down menus and accordions. And then people started browsing on their mobile device. And it's like, okay, well, some of these metaphors, some of these design patterns are going to have to change because the space is much smaller. I mean, that's how we end up with something like back in the day, in the browser experience, we came up with this thing called a breadcrumb. And this was this idea that as I went through an experience, it would keep track of where I was so I could be able to map my way back to the original source. And that was kind of revolutionary. But then one of the first interesting metaphors that came out of the mobile experience was the hamburger, which is now it's pretty commonplace. But I remember when I saw the first hamburger, people didn't know what it was. The hamburger, by the way, is those 3 lines. And then when you click on it, it gives you an expanded menu. And you had to do that in a mobile device because you don't have this horizontal space to put everything in the menu. Anyways, just like we had to come up with a whole new set of metaphors as we move from a browser experience to a mobile experience, we're going to come up with a whole new set of metaphors as we start working with chat and other AI experiences. It's just the evolution of what we call a design language or a human technology interaction.
Awesome. Ashton said, good points. It's like we're back at the pre-UX internet days with AI running wild.
Yes, it is. It is.
We
Cool.
really are at the Wild West. It's super exciting to see the future, and it's happening right in front of us. And it's going to be very, very rapid in terms of just the pace of innovation and the new tools that are being released. So, but venues like this are perfect for that. And Sean, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, I implore to connect with Sean, follow him. And he has a lot of great content that he puts out on LinkedIn. That's actually how I found him, and he posted exactly about this topic. And I said, I need to present this to the group. So Sean, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. And again, I can talk about this stuff all day because I'm a geek. So feel free to reach out to me directly at sean@seanvantyne.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I do try to post on LinkedIn on a pretty regular basis. Obviously, usually things about UX or CX or AI or innovation or design thinking or agile. This is the space that I've been playing in for the last few decades.
Awesome. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for spending your time with us and learning. Hope all your questions are able to be answered, and I hope this provided some value to you. And thank you for your time, and look forward to having these in the future. And everyone have a wonderful evening, and good luck with everything. Good luck keeping up, and take care.
Cheers.